Hello, everybody. This is Jeremiah and Michaela Harrison with Liturgy of the Home coming to you. We're recording this one today on April the 21st. Now, this isn't a live one. We decided this week has been pretty crazy.
We got birds.
Here we go. I've been building a house for our ducks and our chickens, getting them out of their brooder. We've got getting started on volume 4. So we kind of decided, let's just go ahead and make a pre-recorded video. We release it today, walking through the Easter cycle, the first calendar of Easter. So I hope you guys are having a blessed Easter week. We have here. And so I think we're just going to take a few minutes. This will be another short video, I think. Mm-hmm. We're going to walk through the imagery of the first part of Easter, which all of you should have up on your walls right now. And we have a few source images. Unfortunately, we don't have, you lost some, right?
Yeah, it was from last year, and we got new computers, and I don't know, somehow my old source images didn't get transferred where I thought they were, so I'm sorry.
Now, on Easter part 2, do we have more of them? Do you know where those are? Or do we really not have a ton until Pentecost?
I will look for them again.
We might be able to find more for the second Easter calendar, but rest assured, as we get into Pentecost, we have many good source images. We have a new filing system since we've been doing Pentecost, and so I think you're really going to like it, really, really. So
we'll see if the baby stays asleep.
Oh yeah, and little Jamie's asleep on the couch.
He's doing better. He still has a little bit of a cough.
He might wake up. I might have to.
We'll see.
Be in the hot seat for a minute, but we're ready to get started.
Yes.
Okay, I'll share a screen now. So this is Easter part 1. A few days ago, we walked through many of the major elements of the top header, which is we wanted to be able to get that to you because, for Easter. So here we are now. Today's Thursday, Easter Thursday. This whole week is just such a glorious week. One of the things I love about Easter week is, so Dom Guéranger talks about Easter week. Every day is like Easter. It's kind of like the octave of octaves. Mm-hmm. And every day in the liturgy, the monks sing the Victime Pascali Laudes every day. So that's one of my favorite hymns. So we're continuing to walk through with our Lord as he revealed himself, as he resurrected. Everything was changed. And then starting through the season, I think we're going to jump down here to this next week here, beginning with Low Sunday, or also traditionally called Sunday in Albis. Why is it called Low Sunday in Albis, dear?
Because this is the last day that the newly baptized would wear their white robes to liturgy. So all during the octaves, the octave of Easter, they would wear their white robes, and this was their last day.
So they were first received baptism at the Easter Vigil, mm-hmm. right? Which that's why, at least you could see for the early church, the way they structured when they actually received people into the church at the Easter Vigil with all of this preparation during Lent. It's just they line everything up in the most beautiful way. So all through Easter week, the newly baptized would, when they came to Mass each day, they would have their white robes on, and then this was the last day. This is the octave day of Easter.
There he is.
And little Jamie, he's waking up. Now, and you'll notice we had not yet developed a way of marking octaves, but I want to let you guys know it's coming. In the Pentecost calendar, for the first time, Michaela has developed a system by which she is marking the octave days. So look for it. You'll see it. I know we'll be talking about it in our videos at that time, but this is the octave day of Easter. So proceeding on for this week. Now, notice in the pillar here, you have St. Fidelis of Sigmaringen. That's because his feast day is the 24th of April. And of course, this year, his feast day is superseded by the Sunday liturgy. But we were able to put those saints whose feast days, kind of like in the column, as though they're participating in the liturgy themselves. So I think I'm just going to continue on as best as I can. Wait. He's coming. Okay, good. Well, the next part I could talk about, because I did do some reading on this. Many of you may wonder, what is this greater litanies on the 25th? And so this came to us. This was fixed on April 25th by St. Gregory the Great, who is anxious to preserve the memorial of the memory of St. Peter's entrance into Rome. And so this was a day of great procession and litanies. It is a day of petition, kind of there's a sadness to it. I mean, each of the litanies, and the rogation, the major and the minor, I think this is considered a major rogation, and the minor rogation days later on, we're petitioning heaven. And Dom, pardon me, Dom Guéranger talks about, why is this in Easter? This is a time of joy, and yet when we're making petitions, there's these sorrowful notes, especially as we're acknowledging our weakness and asking for God's help. And at least he noted, and I think it's important, we have to remember, no matter what, we are still in this land of exile. We're not in heaven yet, although this is one of the happiest times of the year. There's something fitting to remembering, I think, having that counterbalance. But I think the big reason my understanding is that St. Gregory was anxious that we should not forget. This was the day, April the 25th, is when Peter entered Rome and began his pontificate.
Also noticed he's right there next to him on the Sunday. So you have St. Mark, and then on Sunday, St. Peter's right there on the other side.
Right here?
That's St. Peter, yeah.
Right. Oh, and also we didn't talk about the gospel for Low Sunday is St. Thomas, right? The Doubting Thomas, which is why you see here is interesting. St. Thomas's feast is in Advent, right?
Yes.
If you still have your Advent calendar, pull it out, you'll see
it's the same face. So we updated. If you had our Easter calendar from last year, Thomas was with no beard and stuff, but we tried it because we're making the characters look consistent as they appear multiple places throughout the calendar. He got a facelift. He got hair on his face. He grew a beard. Also, I wanted to point out, so in the new calendar, this is called it's Divine Mercy Sunday. Obviously, this is the old calendar, but I did put in the red and white rays coming out of our Lord's side because it represents the blood and the water. And that is coming from our Lord's heart. So just a little, I try to sprinkle some of these little things in there that weave it all together.
Right. So I spoke on the greater litanies. And of course, the 25th is also the feast of St. Mark. I thought it was interesting to note that the greater litanies were fixed on the 25th before the feast of St. Mark was fixed for the 25th. So there's this association. I mean, basically the greater litanies are always on the feast of St. Mark, but they were separate and when they were instituted to that day.
Also, so St. Mark, note, he's one of the 4 evangelists, and each of the evangelists has a different symbol. And so you can quickly recognize which evangelist it is by the animal or the creature that's associated with them. So for St. Mark, it's the lion. St. John is the eagle. St. Matthew is the angel. And then St. Luke is the ox. And if all of the children out there really learn which animal goes with which evangelist, you can quickly spot it. And I tell you, when I'm doing research online, I can't tell you how many people misname the evangelist because they don't know the symbol. Because they're all the evangelists look fairly similar. They're all holding a book. They've got their writing instrument, but then anyway. So I can quickly spot errors when people don't get the right one with the right evangelist. So anyway,
very good. And proceeding on now, talk about the mantle a little bit for this week, dear.
Oh, what's really cool. So this is one of my favorite scenes from spring is the birds coming and making their nest. And so this scene across the mantle is a progression. You see on the far left, the parent birds are making the nest, and the next scene over, the mother bird's in the nest, and then you see the eggs, and then you see they've hatched and the baby birds are being fed, and then the last scene is the baby birds are leaving. And what do you know? What's going on this week at our house is I just saw the swallows come.
Oh yeah,
they're just started building their nest, so it was like perfect timing.
And our cat just had kittens.
Yeah. So this was why I put that there, because I'm always trying to find ways of weaving what's going on in nature with what's going on in the liturgy, and they go together and help us really grasp and enter into the season more. Versus like the next week's mantle is more on the gospel.
Right.
So
you'll see sprinkled throughout on the Easter calendar a few of these scenes of the world in spring, early spring, late spring. Yeah. So that's one thing to see here. And then we walk through the week. We have Saints Cletus and Marcellinus. These are early popes, early church popes. And in our research, we weren't able to get as much as we liked on all the saints. So we're going to leave you to do research on some of the saints here.
They're martyrs, and because they have their palms,
that's right.
The little marker there is red. So anyway, it's going to be really hard to find images of early popes. There's so many of them, and they get mixed up. But anyway, that's the 2 of them there.
St. Peter Canesius.
Teaching the children.
We have St. Paul of the Cross. He's a member of.
He's a founder of the Passionists, I believe.
Okay,
So,
founder of the Passionists.
so he's holding there the crucifix, and then you have St. Louis de Montfort there in the column, and then Giannamola on the column the other side. But they're both. You can tell if a saint is in the column, the day that they're on is the direction they're looking. So Giannamola is looking that way, and then Louis de Montfort's looking. So you know they're both on that day, but they're all looking at the crucifix, which is being held by St. Paul of the Cross. So
then we have to end up the week with St. Peter Martyr and St. Catherine of Siena.
Yes, the sword's pretty cool. The boys will like that. And then a lot of times they'll show images of him with the sword in his head, but I decided not to do that because I use that imagery for
St. Thomas of Becket.
Right. I'd used that before. So I thought I'll just do the one where he's, and then he has his finger up to his mouth. I was trying to remember why that was particularly. I think is because in the source image that I found, he was it was a picture of him at the top part of a church, and he had his finger like that. St. Benedict's also shown like that too. And I think it's just, from my understanding, it's just to be quiet and to listen to the Lord. Yes. And we sin much by our mouth and our tongue by not keeping in check. So I think that's just a little reminder to keep silence sometimes.
And I guess also some notes about St. Catherine of Siena. I see the wounds that shows she bore the stigmata.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Love her very much. So that's our anniversary.
That's right. That's our wedding anniversary, April the 30th.
Yep.
When we first got married, that day was of its year, Easter Saturday.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So
it was liturgically
that year. Yeah. So proceeding on now to this last week, here we're beginning May with St. Joseph the Workman, which usually is Good Shepherd Sunday. Mm-hmm. So but this time, this feast has superseded. And so you could see still the reference to what typically happens on this day as in Good Shepherd. And you notice in the mantle is still keeping from the readings with Good Shepherd Sunday. And of course, that is because during the week here on the Feria days, they do not read the readings from the Feast of St. Joseph. They read the readings from Good Shepherd Sunday. So that's kind of why that still fits in there. So we have St. Joseph the Workman. We have the scene of our Lord in the workshop.
Yep.
I want to spend more time in my workshop.
Yes.
And some notes about this week, dear.
See St. Athanasius there, classic attire, classic symbols there. So the Feria days this week are of particular interest because of historically these were two feasts that the one for Tuesday there, the trophy of victory over hell, those words are taken from the liturgy. I don't remember exactly which part of the liturgy. But this was the original feast of the finding of the true cross with Saint Helena, that has since gotten merged in with the exaltation of the Holy Cross, which the exaltation of the Holy Cross in September is when the cross was recovered and it was returned to Jerusalem. It had been captured by the Muslims. So there's sort of these two feasts. So even though this is technically a Feria of Paschal Tide, I put in the cross there, kind of to particularly kind of reference that. Right. And then should I go ahead and jump over to the other Feria? Yeah, so the other Feria, this originally was the feast of St. John outside the Latin Gate, which is St. John, the apostle. They tried to boil him in oil, but he would not die. He was unhurt.
I think I read that they submerged him into the boiling oil, and he came out more vigorous and youthful than before.
Yeah. So they
stopped trying to kill him and they exiled him.
Exactly. So anyway, I didn't want to draw St. John because his feast day is back in Christmas, and I didn't want kids to get confused. So the eagle, because it represents St. John, I found this image of the eagle, and it's over the flames and stuff, and it says strength of martyrs. That's also words taken from liturgy, and so you see the palm branch because they tried to martyr him. So that's why there's that image there.
Right. And then so another two interesting feasts. You have St. Pius V, which if many of you know the story, it was through praying the rosary that this naval victory was had over the Muslim fleet and
At Lepanto.
At Lepanto. And if you read into this is a big deal. Like if the Muslim fleet was not defeated here, they could have gone on and ravaged like all of Italy. I remember reading a bit about it. This was a pivotal moment where the prayer to the rosary, and on the flagship of the Christian fleet was an image. They had the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And of course, all this happened. You got to remember, this all happened. I mean, Our Lady of Guadalupe's apparition had only happened, like a decade or a short time before.
Right.
This was still very new. And of course, Our Lady, she had appeared in Mexico. So word had traveled fast, and it was a Don Juan and his flagship bore this image. And so you see those connections, the rosary, Our Lady of Guadalupe, the winning of this great battle of Lepanto, all sort of.
So the victory of the Battle of Lepanto is celebrated in October,
Right.
but this is the feast day of Pope Pius V. And so in order to identify him, I put that scene, and it also fit because St. Monica, the day before, you have the boat in the background, and that was St. Augustine trying to get away from her, but she's there praying, facing towards the cross.
He'll be back.
Yeah. So anyway, so whenever there's sort of a commonality between two feast days, I'll sometimes have the imagery flow across, the sort of the water flowing between the two feast days there.
Yeah, and of course, if you notice the background of the day, remember, as I've mentioned before, for those of you who haven't joined us from the beginning, the way the calendar proceeds, all of the year is kind of like one celestial day. So if you look, you'll notice that the background imagery of the saints, right now we're like at afternoon, right? We kind of.
Oh no, this is like morning.
We're still in the morning.
Daybreak. Yeah.
Oh, we're still.
It doesn't reach full sunshine until basically around the feast of John the Baptist, which is like the middle of the liturgical year. So from midsummer going into fall, it'll begin to slowly. So I'm working on sunset colors right now for for volume 4, and so by November it'll be almost gray, and then when we recycle,
it should be right. It should be at the very end. It should be night,
right. Well, I was gonna do like sunset colors for like October,
yeah,
and then November is the month of All Souls. So I was gonna do like more like gray, and then in Advent you come to the night. Like it's deep night with night. Exactly. Very so good. Like the whole year is the course of one day. If that makes sense.
So if you look at our calendars, you're going to notice the backgrounds of many of the saints is going to follow this pattern. The deep night of an Advent, sort of the dawn at Christmas, right, and then Epiphany. And so now here we're still in high morning, basically.
Yeah, it's got the yellow in it.
Right.
The yellow and the blue. Versus before is more like pink.
So Pentecost is going to be really beautiful. You guys are going to love Pentecost.
Yeah.
So the girls have worked so well on it. Volume 3 is already at the printers.
Yep.
It's being printed now, and so I think it'll start shipping sometime in May to all you guys who have the subscription. And if folks have friends or family who don't yet have a calendar or are interested, that'd be a great time to jump on. There's so many saints and so much theology that Michaela has been able to capture, like in the mantles and stuff for Pentecost. There's actually she's brought more to it.
Yeah, it's going to be anything but ordinary.
That's what we like to say. That,
because so many people call it ordinary time, and I'm just like, oh, if only you knew how extraordinary it really is.
Now, before we wrap up, let's touch on Saint Stanislaus, because this is a unique image. You don't see this every day.
Yeah, what's the skeleton doing coming out of the ground? So Saint Stanislaus was a bishop that he went to evangelize the northern Europeans. So like Poland has a great devotion to him, but the legend was that the king wanted to find some reason to imprison him or get him, and so he falsely claimed that Stanislaus had taken land without paying for it, but the guy who
he bought it from had been dead 3 years.
Right. And so Stanislaus said, oh, well, he will witness to me or something in 3 days. And so he went and prayed. And after 3 days, the man came back to life, rose from the dead in order to bear witness that Stanislaus was innocent of what he had been charged with. And then he returned to the grave. And so I could have just drawn a man coming out, but I did find medieval references that showed it as a skeleton, and I just thought that would be more clear to the children that this person wasn't being resurrected for the sake of coming back to life. It was to witness and then to return to the grave again.
Yeah. So I want to say talk about he wanted to, because he was. I think the man was in purgatory. He didn't want to be here long.
Oh, I don't remember that part. I have to go research it.
Well, my mind might be making that up, but I mean, as the faith teaches that the souls in purgatory are secure.
Yes.
Here in this life, we're still could sin. We still could fall. There's still sort of a danger. But when you're in purgatory, even though it's a place of great suffering, you're safe. You know you're. So I'm imagining the man. In that case, he'd want to get back to finishing his time.
Okay, maybe.
But all right, I think that brings us through to the end of this calendar here. We have some source images we'll share.
Just a few.
I'll pull some up here. And some of these are going to go back to Easter itself.
Right.
Also, you get to see some of the medieval imagery for depicting Easter. So we begin here.
This one's kind of small.
Kind of grainy, but this is from a medieval manuscript book.
But see, that's Our Lady right there on the side.
There it is. Right.
Yep.
We see a lot. You find quite a few where he visits Our Lady.
That's like one of my favorites. I just think that's so cool. And I didn't really know about that before, that was traditionally held. Here's the soldiers and there's Christ exiting the tomb. This one's kind of unique in how he's portrayed. I think that's the circle thing around him. I think it's called a mandola. I could be wrong, but it's like that's a very old way of showing the glory. Not sure the right wording for it, but anyway, you can see in all of them, he's holding his standard.
Here you see how he's stepping up and over.
Yeah.
The symbol of he is rising of his own power.
Yep.
And dear, you used this image to make a Paschal candle, didn't you?
Yeah.
I recognize this now.
Yes. My son, 8-year-old son, Nico, he and I worked together to make the Paschal candle this year. And we took this picture as our basis, and we got different colored pieces of wax and then tried to sort of block it. It doesn't look quite as nice as this picture, obviously, but it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, he enjoyed it. That was a great project. He did took
very hours of time.
Yeah,
Great.
He was very, very well occupied. Here's our Lord again, stepping over the threshold.
Yes.
Let's see, I noticed. Do you know what this is he holds in his hand?
Well, I think that's supposed to be the standard. It's just really light. I can't think of anything else that it would be, but I could be wrong. It
goes beyond, and I don't see a flag.
Yeah. There's a soldier sleeping.
Saint
Mark.
That's right.
So this was the source image I pulled.
Stained glass window that inspired it.
Yeah. I got a different lion. I just thought the kids would see that lion and it would be. I took more of like a normal lion.
I like the lion you picked better. Actually, it's big.
The medievals like to do their lions more like this. I'm not sure exactly why, but
where it almost has a human type face.
I don't know. They look
different.
At the
nose. I mean, the nose looks like a human nose.
It does.
It really does.
I don't think that means anything. At least not that I'm aware
I've seen this before in other medieval lions, though, where they have like almost a very, very humanish face.
Okay.
Our Lord, yep. Standard soldiers.
One of my favorite things about this project is looking over multiple images that are all referring to the same event, but seeing the differences and then seeing things they have in common and then finding patterns.
Because that's really where it's at in many ways, the patterns.
Yeah.
It really is. What is contained in those patterns?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they communicate the theology and the symbolism. And it is interesting to see the different artists depicting those patterns.
There's a lot of differences. These look very different, but you see that throughout all these different styles and different time periods, they're still keeping the same patterns.
This is St. Athanasius?
Yep.
St. Athanasius. And really, stained glass windows provide a lot. There's quite a few source images where you're pulling from stained glass windows or from statues.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Be neat.
Yeah, the garments on the stained glass windows usually are the best. I don't know why. I feel like that time period in art history, they really enjoyed doing all the folds, and so.
You do too.
Not as much as they did. Folds are hard in garments.
Now here's our Lord visiting his mother again.
Yep.
Bringing with him.
Well, these are angels, so this one doesn't show the holy souls, but on some of the other ones it shows the holy souls. But this is him coming victorious after his resurrection to see her. they hold that our Blessed Mother was her heart broken seeing him on the cross, and it was almost like she was on the point of just almost dying because she was so sad. And when he came,
don't worry,
I'm here.
Here I am.
So I just find that so touching.
Yeah. And this is a good one. This is Eastern, right? Russian. Oh, I wish the quality was a little better of the image, but that is a beautiful image of our Lord.
Such a strong structure.
Right. And also here we have
Yes, the classic icon here.
One of these days, I wonder, you really can't, this kind of gold, I don't think there's an ink, is there, that really can do it. You have to have a metallic pigment or something.
Yeah.
Which
it'd be cool if we had a way of putting gold in the calendars, but haven't figured out how to do that yet. There you go. This is back to the medieval style.
And all this is within a great, is that an R? I think this is a great R.
For the resurrection, probably
a
Rex.
Yeah. This is resurrection here, and you can see here the shape of thinking of an R. So I love the way the medievals blended things together. You can kind of look at all the intricate things on the borders and the way I get the sense that the medievals, when they were kids, they must have doodled.
Maybe I don't know much doodling instruments though.
Well, but I mean, look at how they doodle. It says on these on the.
Oh, I know.
So we come back, and then this is an interesting one. This is where our Lord is bringing all the holy souls to visit his mother, right? And you can kind of see the souls. You see, okay, you were noting that's likely Saint Joseph.
Well, we were wondering why some of them have clothes and some of them don't. And so that's obviously Adam and Eve right there in the front. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not an art historian, so I potentially could be wrong. But based on all the other ones that I saw, that's what this would make sense. And so if the one man behind Eve is wearing clothes, that would make me think it's Saint Joseph, because of the belief is held that he had no sin from birth. So he, like John the Baptist, would have been sanctified in the womb. And with being without clothes is a sign of shame or sin. So that's a guess. Obviously that's King David in the background because of the harp and the crown. And then you have the angel with the crown holding the standard for our Lord, and then they have clothes.
The angels do. So and then Our Lady. Right? Yep. So that's an important thing. Just remember that this was held, as a convention a long time, that nakedness was a sign of shame, a sign of those who have sinned
within a certain art period of time.
I'm just saying, you look at today, and it's so
well. Like, so we were having a conversation with some of the other moms, where one of the moms was expressing that her kids were really I don't know if disturbed is the right word, about all the naked bodies on like the Sistine Chapel, and why was it, like, is that a good thing or not a good thing? And I was trying to offer some context that I thought might be helpful, and that is that during that time period in history, there was a heresy going on that that God wasn't really man, wasn't fully man. And so a lot of times the art that was being commissioned, they were trying to counteract heresies sometimes. And so they said, well, no, we're going to show him as, as having a body. And they were focusing more on that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a great thing or whatever. I'm not saying it's not a good, I'm just saying, like, a lot of times you talk to kids about why art is being shown in certain ways, knowing when it came from and what was going on during that time might be helpful. Yeah. Our favorite is the medieval time period, because, at least for me, probably for Jeremiah too, is that the symbolism is very concrete and very consistent. And it's also the most similar to Eastern iconography. So the art of the East and the art of the West was the most harmonious together. And you see a lot of crossover. Obviously there's differences. So like when I'm looking at pictures of the resurrection in the East, Christ's resurrection is always shown with Adam and Eve and Christ lifting the souls out of the grave. And in the West, it's always shown of Christ like stepping out on his own. It doesn't tend to show the souls as much. But you still see there's a lot of similarities. Right. But anyway, so I'd go off on a little bit of a tangent there. But
I think that brings us to the end. think we've walked through this calendar. I know normally we do these live. Sometimes we get a few questions, folks asking us things. This time we made it pre-recorded. But please feel free to shoot us an email if you got a question. I'll answer it. I'll send you an email back and answer it. I just want to say once again, thank you so much for supporting us in this project. We could not do this without your support. God has opened doors, but all you guys purchasing from Sophia or being members are how we can keep doing this. So she'll be here drawing.
I might mention one more thing.
Yeah.
We are tentatively planning a trip to Southern California. At the end of June. We are hoping to be able to visit the fraternity parish in San Diego on St. Anne's. If you live in the area, check with us to find out which day if you'd like to meet us. I'm not sure if we'll make any other stops, but if you're anywhere on the route between Oklahoma and Southern California, maybe we can
send us an email.
Contact us. So we're still ironing out. We're kind of waiting to see what all takes place, but this is a family reunion for my mom's family. So we're going to try to hit that and then visit as many people as we can along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good. Well, once again, like I was saying, thank you for supporting our project. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and help us grow, like the video. And we will be here again, probably in the couple of weeks.
Yeah, because we only covered 2 weeks.
We only covered 2 weeks. And then our next video, we're going to cover all of the content in Easter Part 2. So thank you very much. God bless, and we will see you soon.